Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Sean Yao.
The big stories tonight. The Transportation Department recalibrates and slows down on PUV modernization. That's to allow more drivers and operators into the program, giving them another chance to consolidate.
And in the Netherlands, the legal team of Rodrigo Duterte gets a rejection. The ICC dismissed its request to remove 2 judges from deciding on the court's jurisdiction over the former president's case.
And over at the Vatican, it is day 1 of the conclave. We will get to see the first smoke from the Sistine Chapel's chimney in just a few hours. Or will we? Well, we'll find out later from our correspondents on the ground.
Safety ang paramount na concern natin. Kung roadworthy yung mga jeep, makakabiyahe po yan.
A month after the order to review the public transport modernization program, the DOTR has reopened applications for consolidation. Now, drivers forced to stop flying routes after failing to consolidate may do so again. Here is tonight's big story.
The Transportation Department has reopened the consolidation for public utility vehicle operators that have yet to join the government's modernization initiative. Executive Order 2025-009 allows previously unconsolidated operators to apply for the program and still continue operations. The DOTR also did not set a deadline for those who wish to join. The LTFRB has also been tasked to provide provisional authority to drivers that were forced to stop plying routes after failing to consolidate. The provisional authority is good for a year and can be renewed for another 12 months. For routes that still do not have cooperatives or have less than 60% consolidation, members are also given the option to put up their own.
Pag less than 65% pa lang ang nagpa-participate in a certain route, yes, pwede kang sumama. Or they can create new routes and then sa kanila namin ibibigay. Pag sinabi namin entered into a program, dapat may specific route ka na. Hindi pwedeng you will enter into a program and then wala kang sasabihin na rota na tatahakan.
The DOTR also wants all old PUV units to undergo a roadworthiness exam as part of the requirement for consolidation.
Kaya nga po importanteng maintindihan ng mga kasamahan natin. At isa naman din po ang nagsabi na kung hindi roadworthy ang aming jeep, hindi namin yan papabiyahihan. Kailangan nga natin siguraduhin yun. Na safety ang paramount na concern natin. Kung roadworthy yung mga jeep, makakabiyahe po yan.
Since 2017, the PUV modernization program has suffered multiple setbacks, most of which were due to the issue of consolidation. Latest data from the LTFRB says 86% of PUVs have consolidated, but only 43% of this number has been approved. The reopening of consolidation applications has been scheduled next week after the midterm elections.
And now let's clarify this reopening of applications for consolidation. And joining us tonight is LTFRB spokesperson, Attorney Ariel Inton. Magandang gabi po sa inyo. Welcome to the big story. Walk us through this directive. In a way, you caved to the demands of the jeepney groups.
Yes, ma'am. Naglabas po ng Department Order ng DOTR 2025-09, reopening for the application for consolidation and issuance of provisional authorities for unconsolidated individual operators. The purpose is to balance the overall interest and welfare of the stakeholders in public transport between those who already consolidated at saka yung pong mga hindi pa for equitable opportunities for unconsolidated individual operators.
Sino po ang eligible at sino ang hindi?
Under Section 1 of the Department Order, Scope and Coverage. Ito po, public utility jeepneys and UV Express operators na may previous provisional authority who failed to consolidate, provided yung kanilang units were duly confirmed by LTFRB and registered with LTO for the year 2023 or 2024. So that's one of those covered. Pangalawa, public utility vehicle and UV express operators with pending motion to accept consolidation or application for consolidation, and again, provided that yung kanilang mga units were confirmed by LTFRB and registered with LTO for the year 2023-2024. So ito po yung covered yung bagong department order. So kapag hindi po ganun yung sitwasyon ng operator at kanilang mga unit, ay hindi po sila pumapaloob dito sa department order.
Attorney Inton, matanong ko lang, based on all the reporting and my understanding of the issue, ang pinaka-complaint ng mga jeepney drivers and operators ay mawawala yung kanilang franchise or yung provisional authority nila at yun ang gusto nila talagang kapitan kaya hindi sila willing mag-consolidate. Ano po ang naging workaround sa issue na ito? Ano po ang napag-usapan sa dialogue ninyo with them?
Dito po sa sa department order ay na bolster po yung government policy for consolidation. Ibig sabihin, kailangan po mag-consolidate ang isang operator para po makapagbiyahe. Doon po sa angan ng ibang operator, nga po na-mention niyo ma'am, na kapag nag-consolidate sila, yung pong franchise will no longer be in their names, but in the name of the itinatawag na transport service entities, yung kooperatiba o yung korporasyon, ay sila naman ay magiging member naman ng kooperatibang yun or a stockholder of the corporation.
In other words, they're letting go of their franchises. In other words, pumayag sila.
Opo, kasi ganun po yung process of consolidation, talagang hindi na po matuloy sa kanilang pangalan. However, meron po dati, there was a suggestion na naka-slash. For instance, kung ano yung kooperatiba, slash in the name of the operator.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so there was a give and take.
Yes, ma'am.
Per attorney, ito pong reopening of applications, meron po bang specific deadline ito para malaman na rin po natin kailan po ba talaga may implement itong modernization program dahil matagal-tagal na rin po ito, attorney?
Opo, dito po sa department order na to, dito po sa implementing guidelines, LTFRB, the OTC and the LTO will coordinate with the OTR para po mag-formulate ng guidelines dito po sa department order. Now, ang effectivity po nito is it will take effect immediately after its publication in a newspaper of general circulation, and 3 copies thereof are submitted to the UP Law Center. So, ibig sabihin, yung pong publication po ng department order ay kailangan po. Pero pagkatapos po, magkakaroon po ng implementing guidelines. Paglalabas po ng guidelines, ang LTFRB in coordination with the OTR and other agencies.
Attorney, another issue is mahal po yung mga unit. Ang complaint nila, yung mga unit daw, pili lang yung mga manufacturers. Has the LTFRB solved that problem by opening up to other suppliers na baka mas mura po yung jeepney units?
Wala naman pong problema doon. Basta compliant po yung unit doon sa ipinatutupad. Ang ano po kasi dito is what is mandatory is you should first consolidate. And then yung unit comes later after you consolidated already with an existing transport service entity or you formed one at kukuha kayo ng unit basta compliant po. Wala po specific na kailangan ito ay made in this country or ito kailangan sa specific supplier, di po. In fact, LTFRB is encouraging yung mga modern jeepneys which are made locally dito po at mas ine-encourage po yon.
Paano po yung deferment of consolidation fees? You were instructed, the DOTR was instructed to explore this. Meron na po bang decision tungkol doon?
Sa guidelines po ay ilalabas po yon.
So, pakipaliwanag, paano po yung deferment? For how long? At installment po ba ito? Patak-patak? Paano po i-implement?
Excuse me ma'am, deferment na?
Deferment of consolidation fees and other pertinent fees and penalties.
Opo, ano po yung sa guidelines po, no? Kung kailan po yung deferment. But right now, since wala pa po, so we leave it to the coordinating officials of the agencies under DOTR and DOTR.
So meron pang mga detalyeng hindi pa planchado.
Opo, ang department order po na linabas in 2025-009 established the framework for the opening of the application for consolidation. Ito po ay yung gustong mag-consolidate pero noon dati ay nasarahan. This is their chance now to be able to apply for consolidation.
In the interest of transparency and just to add to Cesar's question, Attorney Anton, magkano po ba ang dapat i-shell out ng isang operator or driver no para sa mga fees, sa mga application fees, etc. More or less?
Naku ma'am, pasensya na po. I don't have any idea of that figure right now.
Okay.
No ballpark, even.
Baka masyadong malayo yung ballpark natin, ma'am. So I would prefer, ma'am, na may yung bagong guidelines lumabas nila.
Okay. Do you see, so you see this as a breakthrough na po in a way dahil matagal nang nakabinbin, this is much delayed. So you would consider this a breakthrough?
We are hopeful that this will be a breakthrough. Lalo na po dun sa mga, if you could recall, yung Antigil Pasada po noon, then they have a dialogue with Secretary Vince Dizon. And Secretary Vince Dizon, sabi niya, okay, so makakatakbo kayo, but provided ito nga, na makapagpanood po kayo dun sa modernization policy of the government. So with this, sana ma-encourage sila, sana yakapin nila yung programang to because this modernization policy, kung ano to, ilang beses na po talagang na-delay, ilang taon na, and hopefully right now, with a new department order, na maari na sila ulit na sumali.
Oo nga po, kasi baka hindi na siya moderno pag implement nyo na, sinauna na.
Opo, baka sa tagal po ng panahon, yung modern dati, antiquated na pagkatapos.
Correct.
Pero is there a rough timeline no going back to that? Kasi yun nga, I think 2017 pa ito, so magda 9 years na yata, or 8 years. Is there a rough timeline kahit na internal, like kailan ba dapat, no, sana matapos yung consolidation before the end of the term of the admin, or is it the end of the year?
Yung before this department order, talaga naman tuloy-tuloy naman yung yung process ng mga nakapag-apply na. And then napansin nga lang yung bagay na out of 86%, only 43% ay natapos. Then siguro with this new development with a new department order and a new guidelines, maaaring yung guidelines na lalabas mapadali yung proseso. At wala dito kasi wala pong guide na walang time frame na nailagay po sa department order. Perhaps they will leave that to the guidelines that will be drafted by the agencies concerned.
So linawin ko lang po, Attorney, kasama rin po sa plano nyo is yung pagpapadali ng proseso nitong pagkuha ng consolidation, because as you mentioned nga, no, even months ago, nagkaroon ng kontrobersiya dun sa actual figure ng mga na-approve. 43% lamang pala talaga yung nakakuha ng approval, and that's because marami rin daw pong delays sa panig nyo po.
Yes, ma'am, and hopefully with this, ma-cure yung mga nagkukos po ng delay ito sa proseso. Mas, dati ay, we could streamline the process, perhaps look into the requirements. Baka meron dyan na pwedeng mapadali ng mga requirements. So, at least mapadali po yung proseso at magkaroon na po na bumilis-bilis yung puntak po ng mga application for consolidation.
We will have to leave it there. Thank you for your time, LTFRB spokesperson, Attorney Ariel Inton.
Senatorial bet Kiko Pangilinan gets a surprise last-minute endorsement from Cebu Governor Gwen Garcia. She raised the former senator's hand in a campaign concert yesterday, May 6. She then praised Pangilinan for being a sincere and hands-on public servant. He is the only non-Alianza senatorial bet to receive the Cebu governor's backing. Now, this could give him a much-needed boost in the vote-rich province of Cebu on the back of his declining numbers in surveys.
Now, is she in or out of the administration slate? That's still the question for senatorial candidate Camille Villar. In recent campaign events, President Bongbong Marcos did not mention Villar's name. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro explains the chief executive chooses allies who are loyal and prioritize public duty over personal gain. Castro did not directly answer why Villar was left out by Marcos and said this is something that only the president can answer.
Unang-una po, ang Pangulo po, ang nais niya na makasama sa gobyerno ay mga taong tapat sa tao, tapat sa tungkulin, at hindi pansarili ang inuuna. Pinili po ng Pangulo ang mga senatorials po sa alyansa. Kung meron po man na hindi makakatugon sa ganitong klase ng kanyang paniniwala, ang tiwala pong iyon ay maaaring mawala.
Well, Villar still has a chance at winning, at least according to the latest and last pre-election survey of Octa Research. Camille is still in the 8th to 18th spots, but still lording it over the survey are Senator Bongo and Representative Erwin Tulfo. Statistically, they share the first and second spots. But if we look at voter awareness, Go leads at 56.2%, while Tulfo is at 52.7%. Trailing behind them are former Senate President Tito Soto, Senators Bato de la Rosa, Pia Cayetano, Bong Revilla, Lito Lapid, TV host Ben Tulfo, Makati Mayor Abby Binay, and re-electionist Ping Lacson. Also in the probable winning circle are former Senators Bam Aquino and Manny Pacquiao, TV host Willie Revillame, Senator Amy Marcos, former DILG Secretary Ben-Hur Abalos, Representative Rodante Marcoleta, and former Senator Kiko Pangilinan. The Octa survey was conducted between April 20 and 24 with 1,200 respondents and a margin of error of plus or minus 3%.
We're going to take a quick break, but coming up, the International Criminal Court rejects a bid from the Duterte camp to have 2 of its judges step aside from the case. The details of that when the big story returns. Stay with us.
The big story is back and with an update on the Taguig and Makati territorial tug-of-war. some facilities in the EMBO or Enlisted Men's Barrios barangays have now been opened to Taguig residents. That's after the Taguig Regional Trial Court issued a TRO against the Makati LGU for previously preventing Taguig from using the facilities in the areas. Recall that the Makati government closed these for 2 years due to the jurisdiction dispute. One of the facilities reopened was a health center in Barangay Pembo, which many residents welcomed.
Nung nakaraang taon po, kailangan po namin umabsent para makapunta po doon. Kasi halimbawa po yung pasok ng anak ko sa 11, kailangan po magising yung umaga. Pero po nang bukas na to, lakad na lang po tapos makaka-uwi agad kami.
Masaya yung mga senior kasi pupunta pa ng Santa Ana Taguig, mga masahe, mainit, saka layo pa ng biyahe. Buti nga ito, pang binuksan, okay na. Talagang para sa Pembo talaga yan.
Another big story today is the appeal of former President Rodrigo Duterte's defense team to remove 2 judges as magistrates in his ongoing case at The Hague, Netherlands, which has been denied. On May 1st, the Duterte camp filed a petition seeking the removal of Judges Rain Adelaide Sophie Alapini Gansu and Maria del Socorro Flores Lera. Duterte's lawyers cited the possibility of perceived biases from the 2 judges. Prosecutor Karim Khan's office opposed the said petition. Apart from asking the judge's excusal, Duterte's lawyers last week also officially challenged the ICC's jurisdiction on the case and asked for his unconditional release. Duterte is currently detained in the Netherlands following his arrest in March over his crimes against humanity case. The former president's pre-trial hearing, where the judges could confirm his charges, is set for September 23.
The conclave has officially started in a solemn, prayerful tone at St. Peter's Basilica. And now News 5 correspondent Mon Gualvez reports to us live from St. Peter's Square. Hi Mon, what's happening now over there at the Vatican, and what time will the cardinals be entering the Sistine Chapel?
Hi Pauline. Currently, the cardinal electors are staying at the Casa Santa Marta. Ito ay para sila kumain for lunch. At the same time, magkakaroon muna ng few time for siesta before they enter the Apostolic Palace around 3:45 p.m. So at that time, pupunta na sila sa mismong Sistine Chapel at doon magsasagawa ng pinakapagsisimula ng conclave. Pauline.
And Mon, can you tell us about the pre-conclave mass that was held earlier this morning? I know it's to start the conclave proceedings. What was the homily about, and what was the atmosphere like?
Yes, Pawi. Actually, dito sa misa na ito, it's in Latin. Pero when we translated some of the message of Cardinal Re's homily, he mentioned that he's asking the public to pray that God will grant the church a pope who knows how best to awaken the consciences of all and the moral and spiritual energies in today's society characterized by great technological progress but which tends to forget God. So dito sumentro yung pinaka-homily ni Cardinal Re, Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re, the Dean of the College of Cardinals. Dito nga sa ginawang misa, which is called the Mass or Misa Pro Eligendo Pontifice, a Mass offered for the election of the upcoming Pope of the Catholic Church.
And Mon, so ilan ba ang umattend ng misa na yan kanina? Are all cardinals present? All 133?
Yes, actually, all the cardinal electors, yung 133, umattend sila, and even yung iba pang mga cardinals na over yung age na sa requirement or classification dito. So kasama din nila yung iba't ibang mga bishops, priests all over the world na nandito ngayon sa Vatican to witness itong conclave na mangyayari. Pero syempre, pagpasok dito sa Sistine Chapel, only 132 will be present dahil yung isa nagsabi nga na hindi niya kakayanin makapasok at makatagal na nakatayo o nakaupo. So due to health concerns, siya ay mananatili lamang sa Casa Santa Marta pero kasama pa rin siya sa bibilangin na boto para sa conclave na magsisimula ngayong araw.
Mon, alam mo, compared to yesterday, ngayon, no, sa live mo, ay maraming tao sa iyong likuran kumpara sa kahapon. How was the mass? Was the square full of people? Dinagsaba yung misa? And are those media people behind you or mga Catholic devotees?
Yes, actually talagang mix na ito ng mga devotees, Catholic, mga nagpipilgrimage, at syempre yung mga members of media all over the world. Ang sabi nga sa atin, more than 4,000 accreditation na yung natanggap ng Holy See Press Office para lamang makapag-cover dito sa conclave na mangyayari. At talagang nagkaroon nga ng confusion din ng una dahil nga meron lang limited space yung media dito sa St. Peter's Square, pero hindi kasi kakasya. Kaya talagang makikita nyo may ilan na mga nagkanya-kanya diskarte na lamang, pero ang paliwanag, right after the live broadcast, we need to go back to the said area na required lamang for the media. And so yung dami ng tao, yes, dumadami siya ng dumadami dito sa St. Peter's Square. Nagsimula yan kanina mula sa misa sa St. Peter's Basilica, kung saan pinayagan din naman pumasok, no, diyan sa loob ng basilica yung mga laiko para maka-attend ng misa. And then yung iba naman dito na lamang sa St. Peter's Square nanonood at nakikinig ng misa, lalo't may mga nakaset up din naman dito na mga widescreen and big speakers na clear na maintindihan yung mismong misa na nangyari kanina.
Mula ba dun sa Santa Marta, makikita mo ang prosesyon ng mga kardinal papasok sa Sistine Chapel?
Oo, sis. Actually, yung magiging marcha ng mga cardinal electors mula sa Casa Santa Marta papunta dito sa Apostolic Palace, magkakaroon pa yan ng live stream, no? Hanggat hindi pa nakakapasok sa Sistine Chapel at hindi pa nababanggit yung extra omnes, para lang magkaroon kayo ng idea, no, at saka ng visuals kung gaano ba kalalayo itong mga binabanggit natin na Casa Santa Marta, kung saan sila nag-i-stay para matulog at kumain. Yan ho ay katabi lang din ng St. Peter's Basilica kung saan ginawa yung misa kanina. At katabi naman ng St. Peter's Basilica, itong Apostolic Palace. Sa Apostolic Palace, nandyan ho yung tatlo. Una, yung Pope Residence. Pangalawa, yung Pauline Chapel. At pangatlo, yung Sistine Chapel. Unang pupunta yung mga cardinal electors sa Pauline Chapel para magsagawa dyan ng prayers at lauds. Kakanta sila dyan ng mga tinatawag na Veni Creator Spiritu. This is the Come Holy Spirit. At after niyan, pupunta na sila dyan sa may Sistine Chapel. Mga 200 to 300 meters lamang yung lalakarin nila. At doon sa Sistine Chapel, isa-isang mag-o-oath lahat ng mga kardinal ng kanilang oath of secrecy para naman dito sa conclave. And then pag natapos na lahat, nakapag-oath, no, yung 133 cardinals magsasabi na ng extra omnes. Ibig sabihin lahat ng mga hindi naman kabahagi ng conclave or yung mga cardinal electors should go out at talagang doon ay kakandado yung mga cardinals para nga sa gagawin nilang unang pagboto dito sa Vatican.
Pagboto na yun, Mon, no? Medyo may konting some sort of confusion about it. What can you tell us? Is it a ceremonial type of voting? What is the difference of the first vote dun sa mga succeeding votes in the next days?
Yes, tama ka dyan, Sean. No? Nagkaroon talaga ng confusion because the Vatican media released an information that the first voting will happen or transpire tomorrow or Thursday morning. Pero kinlarify na tuloy pa rin yung first voting tonight or today, this afternoon, no? Kasi nga nasa proseso ng pinaka-conclave. Kapag nagsara na itong Sistine Chapel, ang unang gagawin dyan ng mga cardinal electors is i-discuss yung Apostolic Constitution, and they will be asked kung meron ba silang mga clarifications, questions on the last minute para maayos. After nun, tatanungin sila kung itutuloy ba ang botohan o hindi. Nagkaroon ng interpretation na maaaring hindi matuloy ang botohan ngayong araw dahil masyadong mahaba yung kumbaga, seremonya na ito, no? At madalas, nangyayari, hindi naman nagkakaroon ng Santo Papa on the first day. Kaya again, kinlarify ng Vatican media that the process will continue. At magkakaroon po ng unang botohan today, ngayong hapon, at maaaring maglabas doon ng usok around 7:30 to 8 p.m. dito sa Vatican, habang madaling araw na dyan sa Pilipinas.
Pero Mon, wala namang nangyayari na sa unang botohan may two-thirds vote na ang isang kardinal.
Everything is possible, Ses. Yun ang sinasabi din ng mga priests
Parang
na nakakausap
ka na
natin.
rin sumagot, ha?
Oo nga, na nakukuha na natin, no? Pero yun yung paliwanag nila sa atin na everything is possible. There's actually a pope na elect na napakabilis, no? Few hours lamang. So we are just waiting kasi nga kung makikita natin in the past 2 conclave, mabilis lang din yung nangyaring botohan dito kay Pope Benedict at kay Pope Francis na inabot lamang ng 2 araw.
All right, well, thank you very much for those updates. That was News 5 correspondent Mon Gualvez reporting to us live from the Vatican.
All right, we're going to pause for another quick breather, but when we return, we have more news from the Vatican. This time from One News PH anchor Cheryl Cosim. Like many of us, she too is waiting for that proverbial smoke that signals the election of a new pope. Keep it here on One News.
The big story is back with more news from the Vatican as the conclave starts today. Okay, we're waiting for Cheryl Cosim to join us, but in the meantime,
we are seeing live pictures from St. Peter's Square. We see St. Peter's Basilica. And as Mon Gualvez, a reporter who's also there with Cheryl Cosim, said, mas marami nang ang tao today. And tumuhang tuloy yung botohan tonight, Pawi.
So right now, St. Peter's Square is still quite empty because as Mon reported, right, the cardinals are back at Casa Santa Marta for a lunch break. They will also be taking a quick siesta, which is quite nice, right? Before you do your vote and enter the Sistine Chapel.
And you know, they're quite the age that needs a siesta.
Yeah. That's true.
So I guess it's about, I believe it's about 4:30 p.m. Before when they do proceed to the Sistine Chapel, and from there the doors will be closed. And once the doors close, I mean, it's already a secret. We won't know anything about what happens inside because the cardinals will be taking this vow of secrecy.
Once they're locked inside the Sistine Chapel, hanggang tayo dito sa labas, hanggang abang na lang doon sa white smoke sa chimney or black smoke.
I think that's what the crowds will begin to swell even more once that hour appears, approaches, mga 7 p.m. ba?
Yeah, 7 p.m. Rome time.
Yeah, Rome time, yes.
So that's, we're 6 hours ahead of Rome, so that will be around 1 a.m. Philippine time, no? And lots of Filipinos, of course, watching this, tuning in to the Pope, to the conclave, that smoke watch nga, ika nga. But after the first vote, it hasn't really ever emitted, I guess, white smoke, right? After the first vote. In fact, when Pope Benedict and Pope Francis were elected as the new pontiffs, it took about 4 to 5 rounds of voting. So there's, I don't know what analysts have been saying. Will this be a quick?
Yes.
They're saying it. They're expecting it will be quick. But of course,
so far, that's what we're hearing, right?
Right. And of course, the longest one was 3 years, but that was like centuries ago. Matagal
That's
na
why
yun.
they removed the roof.
They removed the roof to pressure them to come to a vote.
But can you imagine what a historic day, right? And I'm sure it will be a wondrous sight to see the cardinals marching into the Sistine Chapel.
That's right. So much history and so much of this tradition that we expect. We already can picture because it's there in the apostolic text how this should be carried out. At the same time, there are changes. This is going to be the biggest conclave ever, the most cardinal electors. Pope Francis made exemptions to that before he passed on. They're also calling it the most multinational,
Very diverse.
very diverse.
Yes, diverse.
Yeah.
They are saying that this may be also a referendum on Pope Francis in a way.
Because 80% of the cardinal electors were appointed by Pope Francis. So yeah, it begs the question on whether they will be following his footsteps, continue what he started for the Catholic Church, which we know was very inclusive, very embracing, very open to the poor. And much has also been said, right, about conservatives versus liberals.
Yeah.
So that's what we will be finding out in the next
Imagine
few
what
days.
a tough act to follow, because he was so mediagenic. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody loved him.
He was the first of his kind, the first of his name, the first pope to eschew all the fancy things. You know, his outfit, his cassock, I think is the proper
Yeah.
term. It was always just white. And I saw like a lot of videos on yung nakita ko sa TikTok, yung gumagawa ng outfits ng Pope. Yung isang store lang yan, 6 generations of Italians. And they said, oh, Pope Francis is the easiest because he just wears white.
And apparently, so they prepare also for the new Pope, they prepare 3 sizes of the new, what the Pope
The
will be wearing,
outfits.
right? Because they don't know who will be emerging as the new pontiff. So I think there's a small, there's a medium, there's a large, just to make sure that
And there
they
will
remain
be
inclusive.
also choices, I suppose, diba? Of
Pope Francis chose not to wear the red shoes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
The
this time,
shoes.
naku, yun din, no? There will be so much guessing. What will the new Pope want?
Yeah. Will he follow in Francis's more
Yeah.
simple tradition? Will he be going back to tradition, strict
Yeah.
tradition, yung magagarbo na very embroidered and ornate
Living in the
vestments and-
palace of the Pope, riding the limousine. And yeah, that's interesting. An interesting question, no? Because if they do go back to their conservative ways, would that be seen as controversial? Will that be seen as not being simple? But then again, that's the tradition of the church.
It's so hard because
Yeah.
this church is so old. It goes back to the time of Jesus Christ, right after he passed away. And that was a long, long time ago.
So much rituals.
Yes, and it's what makes the church. But then it's 2025 and things beg for change.
But it has been said also that the Pope is like the conscience of the planet.
The
You know, the moral compass. Yeah.
Well, let's hope.
Not just for the 1.4 billion Catholics, but I guess that even if
For the interfaith,
yes,
everybody.
not even non-Catholics.
I was gonna say, Sas, I bet we're hoping here that whoever it is, and whether he's more liberal or conservative, he'll follow the environmental, stand that Pope Francis took.
Yes, it looks like many of the favored ones
They do
support,
believe.
yeah,
Nakabilis.
yeah, do support his policies.
Okay, well, let's take a quick break from all things conclave and move back here first to the Philippines because it may not be rainy season yet, but parts of Metro Manila already had to deal with flash floods today. And our big picture tonight shows pedestrians and motorists forced to wade through floodwaters due to a sudden heavy downpour. Pag-asa said a low-pressure area brought rains to parts of the country today. Pero hindi lang today, kahapon at nung isang araw, umulan din. Talaga kung kailan right before rush hour, no?
It's weird because it's summer, di ba dapat mainit? But
Well,
then-
wala nang ibang sisisihin dyan kundi basura lang.
Ay,
Diba?
totoo yan. Ayan na naman. Hopefully, dapat ngayon na ginagawa yung mga flood
Yeah,
control
yung
projects.
pag-clean.
Pag-clean.
Sana
ng
dyan ang
mga-
EDSA. So, they did say, right, they're gonna include it in the rehabilitation.
There is.
Fixing the pipes.
Speaking
and
of,
the
we haven't
drainage.
forgotten, no?
We haven't forgotten
We
about
haven't
that
forgotten.
rehabilitation project.
Which is supposed to start next week after the election.
I know.
So, lots
Aren't
of
we
things.
gonna have the first dibs on the plan?
I hope so. We should be. We would help,
Or there's still 2
communicate.
days. We're still 2 days.
Okay, well, lots of things to wait for. There's elections on Monday, the conclave, which is happening right now, and of course that EDSA rehab plan. But for
So-
tonight,
Wait, I wanted to ask Pawi, are you going to be, it's going to be a long
It's
night
gonna
for
be a
you?
long
Pawi.
night. Yes,
Yeah.
we're gonna
be staying on top of this conclave coverage. We have one at 1 in the morning, so we will be monitoring the first round of voting of the cardinal electors. So hopefully you can join us then.
First round of smoke watching with Pawi tonight at 1 a.m. Of course, here on One News. But that's it for the big story on this midweek Wednesday evening.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thank you for watching. Have a good night.